Aujourd'hui, avec les mappings, avec la traçabilité, c'est des choses qui sont liées pour moi. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, avec la traçabilité, on a eu un projet qu'on appelle le CMS. Chaque sac de cacao qui rentre dans le magasin, on sait à qui appartient, c'est pour quel planteur. Aujourd'hui, tu prends, tu mets dedans, tu sais ce code-barre vient de quel planteur. Et nous aussi, au niveau de la localisation, à cause de relevé GPS, on sait où se trouve sa plantation. Grâce à la cacaoculture, vraiment, nous avons fait plusieurs réalisations. Nous avons construit des écoles dans des villages et nous avons fait des pompes hydro-villageois dans plusieurs villages. Et vraiment, moi j'aide les femmes, je veux que les femmes n'ont qu'à avoir leur propre indépendance. Voilà pourquoi nous avons mis un programme de maraîchers en place pour ces femmes. Grâce aux maraîchers, les femmes vont gagner de l'argent et ils vont utiliser cet argent pour mettre à la disposition de l'éducation de leurs enfants. Ce qui me réjouit dans tout ça, vraiment j'ai vu que vraiment j'ai des frères aujourd'hui qui sont à l'université et d'autres travaillent, d'autres qui sont des fonctionnaires et des cadres grâce aux coopératives que nous avons créées au niveau ici. Et vraiment quand je vois ça, vraiment moi je suis fier du travail que je mène.
Thank you, Suzanne. So as I was explaining, farmer organizations are really at the heart of our approach. And we believe in the development of strong, professional, business-oriented farmer organizations. We expect them to take responsibility for managing sustainability programs and deliver services to their farmers and support to their communities. But those farmer organizations are facing lots of challenge. They are operating in a very difficult environment, low access to basic infrastructure, and they are, for many years, they've been lacking access to finance due to bad management practices, absence of basic tools to support their business ambitions. Based on those weaknesses that we identified, due to our close relationship with the cooperatives, we developed some programs enabling to address those issues and provide capacity building for farmer organization. And we were able to come to put in place projects that supported their ability to have access to finance. So it is a stepwise approach. As I was explaining, we started by making sure that we would identify their issues and come up with an answer. The first answer was to provide them with capacity building. So this is a project that we developed in collaboration with IFC. That was the COP Academy program. We then also worked on digitalizing the payments, because obviously those farmer organizations operate in a cash handling environment, which is also characterized by absence of financial transparency and absence of financial security. So digitalization is also an important component of this program. And to make sure that we would be able to connect those farmer organizations and farmers to the banks, we started the development of a financial rating tool that enable us to provide better visibility of the cooperative bankability to the banks, so that also banks would be encouraged to work with those business entities. Many years ago, no banks wanted to ever work with a cooperative, but today, on a daily basis, we receive some requests from banks who want to work with cooperatives and who want to support our ambition of turning those cooperatives into viable business entities. Next slide, please, Suzanne. So we developed the COP management system. It has an important financial component, which starts by making sure that we are able to provide some mobile banking payments to the farmers. It took us some time to work with our financial partners to evolve towards a favorable ecosystem in which farmers would be able to receive payments, digital payments. Through this system that we developed, we are also able to track down all the loans that are made to the farmers by the cooperative. And to accelerate this progress towards a total digital environment, we are promoting and developing a digital payment platform. So this will be a very unique solution. This is the first ever digital payment platform specifically dedicated to the rural sector. And I'm very happy to have the opportunity to present it to you today. Next slide, please, Suzanne. So all those initiatives all those initiatives have an end goal, which is to strengthen the cocoa value chain. The business case for this ambition, we want to establish robust business management system, enabling cooperatives to have better control of their activities. We want to increase the credibility and efficiency of the supply chain through an improved track and control of the cocoa flow. And we want cooperatives to be able to take some data-driven business decision making. And over time, as I said, and I will be constantly repeating it, we want cooperatives to become viable business entities that can be responsible vectors of development. The business case for the farmer communities, we want to ensure that farmers have a strengthened and consistent outlet for their cocoa products. We want to improve ability for cooperative to reinvest their benefit in communities, because as I was explaining, those communities are deprived from access to basic social services. And we want to make sure that farmers are also able to become business entrepreneurs by having a structured access to financing through establishment of bank accounts, through which farmers will be able to access loans and develop their farm like real businesses. Also, for the sector, we want to ensure long-term viability of the cocoa sector. We want to reduce the risk of financing for the banks. We want to also reduce the risk of financing for actors like us. Cargill is an exporter. We are not a bank, and we should not be seen as a bank, despite the fact that for many years we've been acting like a kind of bank towards the cooperatives, and the cooperatives have also been working like a bank towards the farmers. So that leads me again to insist on the fact that we are here to speak about our project with the ambition to contribute to transforming the cocoa sector together. Next slide, please, Suzanne. Our ambition for a fully transparent and credible supply chain. We want to buy traceable cocoa from a farmer who is located on a map with his GPS coordinates, and we want the farmer to receive his money on the bank account. From your position, it could be maybe not so easy to see how spectacular this ambition is, but you need to take into consideration the fact that in Ivory Coast, in Ghana, and in Cameroon, cocoa is produced by millions of farmers who are scattered across millions of small farms. And in the 4 years, we've been developing a strong system starting by GPS mapping of all the farms in our supply chain. And we've been developing the system through which we are able to trace down the bags from farm to the factory. Next slide, please, Suzanne. So this achievement has been made possible through the crop management system. It has a traceability component, which is a tool that enables cooperatives to centralize inventory management, stocks, and payments, and financial management aspect linked to their activities. And we want to help them to deal with basic activities occurring in the management of their company. The technology is, we are using a code bar technology, as you saw in the small film. So code bars are used to trace down the cocoa bags from the farm to the factories. It enables us to have better understanding and better overview of our supply chain, and it enables us to provide customers with the assurance of the origin of the cocoa that they are sourcing. The system enables us to gather lots of data related to the farmer and to the cooperatives. And all those data are also used to support capacity of the farmer to take business or data-driven decisions. And we move to the next slide, please, Suzanne. So now I just speak quickly about the results. Suzanne, can you come to the... Okay, no, this one. Okay, so 115 cooperatives are involved in the project up to date. 97,000 farmers are involved in the project. When it comes to access to financial services, up to 14,000 farmers have been directly connected to this system and are benefiting from digital financial services in Ivory Coast. Next slide, please, Suzanne. We are also using this innovation to bring COVID-19 sensitization messages to farmers and communities. As I explained at the beginning of my presentation, those digital tools are made available at the level of the farmer through applications and mobile phone applications that the farmers are using to be connected to our system. And when the crisis of COVID happened, we were able to use this technology to convey health messages to the farmers. So it shows you how our technology can be used and oriented towards a wider support to the farming communities. Next slide, please, Suzanne. So the lessons learned. We face lots of technical challenges. For those of you who know Africa, sometimes we can have difficult access to the villages. Bad network quality, bad network coverage hampers our performance in the system. And when it comes to the issues that we have in relation with connecting the farmers to financial inclusion, we are confronted with the fact that up to 50% of the targeted farmers have defective identification papers. In those conditions, it is hard for us to achieve our ambitions, but for all those years, we've been making efforts, and we are very proud of what we've been achieving. And again, the reason for us taking part to this type of platform is to share with potential partners our issues and share our firm conviction that together we can make a better future for cocoa sector. Next slide, please, Suzanne. The next steps, we will be accelerating our progress towards development of digital finance in agriculture in Ivory Coast. And this is, on this slide, you see a small advertising that we are deploying with telco companies that we have been able to onboard in our programs to the benefit of the cocoa sector. Next slide, please, Suzanne. So to support our ability to make digital payments, Cargill and its partners are developing a switch payment solution. As I was able to mention, this will be a very unique solution that we are developing and that we are piloting for this year in Ivory Coast. We want to increase security and transparency of financial transaction. We want to support capacity of farmers and cooperatives to use digital payments, and we want to increase bankerization of farmers, supporting their ability to have access to loans and to develop their farms in a professional way with the support of the banks. And overall, we want to accelerate the transformation of the cocoa sector. So this platform that we will be developing enables us to put together 5 key actors, which is first one, the cooperative, the farmer organization through which we are touching the farmers. We will be including the farmers. We will be also including the banks. We are able to include the telcos, and at this moment, I will make a quote. I heard a farmer saying that Cargill is making efforts enabling that they are able to get access to everything through their phone. So it was a very inspiring quote, and he mentioned that we cannot have access to everything, but thanks to Cargill, everything comes to us through our phone. And I'm very happy to be part of this team who is making those progress in Africa. Next slide, please. So how does it work? So through our system, the cooperative is able to buy some digital money. Then the cooperative uploads the cooperative sends an order to the bank, and by which the telco will be receiving some digital money. Afterwards, the telco will convert this money into digital money, put it on the switch, and enable the cooperative to make the various payments to the farmers or to other cooperatives. So it's a very ambitious system, and we hope that by using of this system, we will be able to accelerate transition towards a totally digital finance cocoa sector, digitally financed cocoa sector. Next slide, please, Suzanne. To support capacity of cooperative to be managed in a more professional way, we have also been developing the SAP Business One COP Management System Financial Solution. Again, from your position in Europe and in the Western world, you need to understand that lots of those cooperatives for many years have been managing their business only by using physical documents. In those conditions, it can be difficult for those organizations to proceed to financial reconciliation and take some business decisions that are data-driven in real time. Through this system that we are developing, we have the ambition to increase cooperative professionalization and ability to be a viable business entity. They are able to have access to financial data at a real time. It's a cloud-based management system application that we have been creating for the cooperatives. And as I said, it offers direct and real-time access to key information for the cooperative, based on which in real time, again, I insist on this word, they are able to take some business-oriented decisions in a more professional way. Next slide, please, Suzanne. So I'm coming close to the end of my presentation, and I just want to show you some basic features of this application. So the cooperative will be able to manage digitally all the information related to finance to the sale, also overseeing all the information related to the services that the cooperative is buying, and they will be able to have a better view over their stocks. The information from these financial systems are directly connected to the information generated by the traceability system, so that over time we will be able to have full traceability of the cocoa flow, and at the same time the cooperative will be able to have extensive information on their financial activities. And connected to the Switch platform that we are developing, we want to be able to provide our customers, provide our donors and our partners with the assurance that we are progressing towards a fully transparent cocoa sector, even in terms of finance, even in terms of traceability of physical flows. Suzanne, please. So that being said, I'm happy to come to the end of my presentation. I hope that in this small time I've been able to give you a good overview of what we are doing today in Ivory Coast, and I'm happy to hand over to Suzanne to present how we're expanding to other regions.
Suzanne, you're muted, I believe.
Perfect. Sorry about that. Hard to see the screen. So thanks, Jean-Marie. So indeed, based on the lessons of implementation in Ivory Coast, as you saw in one of the beginning slides, we also have direct sourcing networks in 4 other origins, so Ghana, Cameroon, Brazil, and Indonesia. So we've really been seeing how can we further implement and utilize the tools that we've been developing in Ivory Coast and expand to other regions. So in other regions, we see similar issues. So still a lot of the rural farmers are trapped in poverty cycles, and a lot of the farmer operations and supply chains are still inefficient. So through the E-Alliance, which has been supported by the USAID, we have been able to look at and start to pilot different approaches in Cameroon, Brazil, and Indonesia. Of course, each of the supply chain is quite different in each of these countries. So for instance, in West Africa, there are a lot of smallholder farmers. However, in Brazil, farmers can have a much larger hectarage. So we can gear our solutions more at individual farmers than at farmer organizations. Also, let's say in Indonesia, the uptake of mobile technology is much higher as well. So the solutions and the design can be geared slightly different for each of these regions. So together with the USAID partnership, we have been looking at indeed how can we approach digitization and adoption of technology tools and adapt them to each of the different supply chains. So in Brazil, as I said, we've very much more been focusing on how can we then use, let's say, the FarmForce technology as we have in Brazil, but leverage it more directly to farmers and have a more services where farmers can really see the pricing of the market, but also get access to good agricultural practices and real-time information to manage their farms. In Indonesia as well, the tool has also been geared to farmers as well as supply chain actors. In Indonesia, there are no formal farmer organizations, so the setup to reach suppliers is quite different. It's more village collectors. So we've adapted. We're also working with a different technology provider in Indonesia as well called Kutiva. And then we're also expanding the services as well to see how can we use these similar tools to measure greenhouse gas emissions from also farm to factory and inform also Cargill and different supply chain actors on how we can reduce our emissions and reach our carbon targets as well. In Cameroon is more the most, I would say, similar supply chain as Ivory Coast. So there we've really been seeing, okay, how can we roll out the farmer or the co-op management system as we have in Ivory Coast? How can we also roll out mobile digital services as well? However, there are slight differences that we see there. Cooperatives in Ivory Coast are quite well developed. They're much larger than in Cameroon. So in Cameroon, there's a slightly different construction as well. So we're now in the second year of the USAID E-Trade Alliance partnership. So we already have some lessons learned from the different pilots. I think one thing that we really have realized that each region and each country very much has its own dynamics. Farmers are they're similar-ish, but they also have very different needs as the market structure differs, the supply chain differs. So how you set up the digital systems really needs to be adaptive to that. So we also realized a lot of different customizations were needed, and we needed to adapt to how the different market structures were set up. As Jean-Marie also highlighted in Ivory Coast, we still do see systemic infrastructure challenges across the board. So also very much listening to some of these presentations. In case you see solutions that could support us, please do reach out. But as in Ivory Coast and Cameroon, farmers still really lack identification to sign up to mobile money solutions. Also, we see the notion of mobile payments still needs to be accepted by some of the farmers in Cameroon as well. So we also need to ensure that there are the right infrastructure, that they can cash out close, that there are different the offtake with mobile, they can pay for different services as well. So really the enabling environment for mobile money digital finance services still needs a lot of work. In Indonesia, we've also seen a main challenge in rolling out applications is that farmers often also change phone numbers. It can be cheaper to get a new SIM card, a new phone. So it's also how we set up on board farmers is very crucial. And we also see that there's still a lot of training and coaching needed for farmers in using different applications. So even though you might see them using, let's say, the Facebooks on their phone quite a lot, as they get the different technology systems, we still see the need for a lot of one-to-one training. And of course, that has also been a challenge with the COVID situation and for us to be able to reach out and go into the fields. Data and connectivity issues also still remain a big challenge and limits our outreach and also limits, let's say, some of the issues around data quality as well if the syncing doesn't work. So there are still some structural issues. And I think at large, I mean, Jean-Marie also showed our CocoWise platform. I think at large there are still some lessons, there's still some challenges we're grappling with, right? We really want farmers and farmer organizations to own that data, to have a huge stake in that data quality, and to be empowered to be able to access different services. So how do we ensure that, but also how do we ensure interoperability between our systems? As well, we're collecting a huge number of data on where the farmers are located, how the farmers, which solutions could we link up with government systems so that they indeed reach out, are be able to provide that support? How do we ensure there's no overlap between different industry partners? So still in, I would say, more the macro system level designs, there are some challenges that we need to overcome also to enable us as a sector to have that whole supply chain transparency and able to gear different gear solutions at farmer organizations and farmers that really make a difference. So with that, I wanted to end.
Okay, great. Sorry.
That was it. That was the endings. These are some of the photos of how we're implementing in some of the training in Cameroon, but that is the end for me.
All right, Suzanne, my apologies for interrupting you on your very last moment, but thank you very much to both you and to Jean-Marie for a very, very thorough sort of presentation. I mean, it's very obvious that Cargill is investing a very significant amount of time and effort, and I'm sure other resources into the various programs. And it was really very helpful for us to hear all of the work that is being done, not only in Africa, but more broadly around the world. And I should mention, as you already have, that Cargill is one of the founding members of the public-private partnership that USAID has under the title of the E-Trade Alliance. And we're very grateful for Cargill's participation in that alliance and for all of the good work that it is doing and the valuable insights that it's sharing from those efforts. I'd like to shift gears a bit now, a bit away from sort of a focus specifically on agriculture to highlight another partnership, if you will, that USAID has. We work very closely with the International Trade Center in Geneva, which, as many, if not most of you know, is a jointly sponsored entity between the WTO and the United Nations. We have supported a variety of programs at the ITC, and we're delighted to have the ITC join us here in our session today. I'd like to introduce Judith Uverschauer, who is an associate focusing on e-commerce issues at the ITC, and she will speak to some of the work that is being undertaken around the world to promote opportunities, particularly in the SME sector. So, Judith, let me turn the floor to you. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm afraid we can't hear you, Judith. Still no sound. I think we're having some ongoing technical issues. It shows that you're unmuted, but unfortunately your microphone does not seem to be working. Still nothing. Well, I don't know if you will be able perhaps to rejoin us. I believe that Judith was going to introduce some of the individuals that are joining us from around the world who are involved in some of the programs that the ITC has been undertaken. Perhaps I can turn now to the next individual who I think was going to speak about some of the work that she is involved in Guatemala. I have, I think, next on the agenda, Eliza Barbarchi, who is with Itza Wood. Eliza, can you perhaps take the floor?
Sure thing. Thank you, Paul. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. So my name is Eliza Babarsi, and we're part of the e-commerce program that ITC is hosting, empowering women-led small enterprises in Central America. And I am the creative director and founder of Itza Wood, and I'm just going to share screens with you quickly so you can see my presentation. Just checking if my sound is working now. Can you hear me? Oh, there's Judith.
Judith, you're back, yes.
Okay. Well, I don't want to interrupt. Elisa, please go ahead if you want to start. If you'd like to go ahead, Judith, with the intro, that's fine. Okay, perfect. Then let me start and introduce the next panel together with Elisa, Carmen, and Ishani. Thanks a lot, Paul, for giving us the space to talk about the International Trade Center's e-commerce work in Central America. We will focus in our discussion today on our e-commerce project that we are implementing in 6 countries across Central America. We would like to use the remaining time to actually listen to 2 women entrepreneurs from El Salvador and Guatemala who are beneficiaries of our e-commerce project, and also to a colleague from the international marketplace Etsy that is partnering with ITC to help the small artisans in Central America to sell their products online. But before giving the floor to Carmen, Elisa, and Ishani, I would like to give a little introduction to our e-commerce work in Central America. The project is funded by the European Union and jointly implemented with the Secretariat for Central American Economic Integration, SIECA. When we started the work in 2017, we selected a group of 200 women-led handicraft businesses across 6 countries in Central America. And I have to say, at the beginning of the project, for many of these businesses, e-commerce was just a side channel that offered a potential additional source of income. But the main sales channels were still their physical shops and traditional trade fairs. And this has drastically changed with the pandemic. And the businesses had to close their shops when the international trade fairs were canceled. Suddenly, e-commerce was the channel of survival for many of the women-led businesses we are working with. So without their web shops, eBay or Etsy stores that we helped them set up, the businesses wouldn't have been able to survive during the pandemic. We know that different ingredients are needed to grow an e-commerce businesses. So first of all, a business needs to have a good product or service to stand out from the competition. Then businesses need to have access to internet, to e-commerce platforms, technologies like marketplaces such as Etsy. Online payment solutions, it's a key barrier that we keep seeing in our projects, that payment solutions like PayPal are not available in all the countries we're working in, and they're often linked to marketplaces like eBay or Etsy. And then access to cost-efficient and reliable logistics solutions, which is again one of the big challenges we face in our e-commerce projects. Then businesses need to have the necessary skills to set up and manage an e-commerce business. And last but not least, the budget to increase the online visibility, because the more businesses that are competing online, the harder it gets to find a niche and become visible without a big marketing budget. In our project in Central America, we try to address these different elements through two main pillars, I would say. The first one is partnerships. So this is really a core element of the project, or is still a core element of the project, to create this enabling environment for e-commerce. So we entered into partnerships with leading e-commerce logistics and payment companies such as PayPal, Payoneer, DHL, eBay, Novica, and Etsy. And this helped us to make it easier and cheaper for the businesses to set up their e-commerce and to get started, to have a first e-commerce experience. And then the second pillar of the project was a huge skills development program, which included a variety of online and offline training, workshops and coaching to help the businesses develop the necessary skills to sell their products online. I see that since I had some technical difficulties, we don't have much time left. So I suggest I stop here and give the floor to Elisa and Carmen to hear from them how e-commerce has helped them thrive through the pandemic, how they have been able to harness e-commerce for a good cause in their countries, and also about the constraints they have faced to participate in international e-commerce. And after that, we move on and give the floor to Ishani from Etsy India to hear about Etsy's response to the pandemic and the role of e-commerce marketplaces in general in the COVID-19 recovery. And Ishani will also share a bit from her side the barriers that she keeps observing when it comes to onboarding small businesses to platforms like Etsy. So Elisa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Judith. I'll share screens again. So Itza Wood, we are a social venture in San Andres Petén, Guatemala. I'm coming to you literally from the middle of the jungle right now. And we handcraft quality furnishings and woodwares out of sustainably and locally sourced tropical woods. But more than just making spoons and cutting boards and dessert servers, we really seek to use business for good. We are in a very underdeveloped and rural area that is rich in natural resources, but lacking in opportunity. And as a company, our mission is threefold. So environmental, because we're in the second largest tropical forest of the Americas, the Mayan biosphere, and we want to see it last for generations to come. Communities need to be able to live from the forest while protecting it, which is why we design around smaller pieces of lumber and offcuts, scraps, and more value to the trees that are already being harvested and are sustainably and are certified by the Forest Stewardship Council. We want to take advantage of the wood that isn't being exported out of the country by the larger lumber companies in order to provide more jobs and opportunity here. And our mission is social. We harness business to boost the local economy and usher healthy development, and
Elisa,
educational. Yes?
I'm afraid we don't see your slides if you're sharing anything.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was sharing.
Okay, sorry. Just
allow me to.
Leading up to that.
No, my bad. I thought I was sharing, but let's see. I'm clicking on the share screen button and nothing is happening. Okay.
I'll be happy to take over if you want.
Okay, I think I got it. Can you see now?
We do now, yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, just showing you a little bit of the scenery and where we are, and diving into our mission and sort of the product that we create and we design around this sort of waste material or offcuts in order to really usher healthy development and harness that business to boost the local economy. And then we also have a super large educational focus. We're partnered with the Jungle School and are all about empowering communities and families through education. And we want to help provide the best possible education for kids who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford it. So we reinvest 100% of our profits into furthering these social initiatives. Of course, being in the middle of the jungle in Guatemala and trying this can have its challenges, and we at times can feel very disconnected if we aren't using these 21st century tools to engage and interact with the rest of the world. So we're very thankful to have been selected as one of the companies that ITC chose to work with. Their mentorship has been key in taking us from a simple landing page to creating a full e-commerce site, targeting the correct audiences, and launching us for online sales globally, which is something that we didn't have before the pandemic began, and was really key for us to continue in business. Our main sales revenue has come from participating in person at trade show events and targeting wholesale accounts. The e-commerce site has helped us connect directly to our individual customers and to sell without having to go to trade shows because we weren't able to travel at all last year. And it also helps us establish ourselves as a trusted, very powerful storytelling tool for us. And while I dive into the a few of the constraints we've had, I'll just stop sharing screens. But yeah, in a remote area, the constraints have been logistical. Of course, we are 30 minutes down a dirt road and no shipping companies will come to us. But thankfully now we're working with DHL, and so we have to drive all of our packages into town in order to ship. Shipping pricing can still be quite prohibitive, so we've had to not offer all of our catalog online, but rather bundle things in order to make the sale cost effective in terms of shipping. Payment platforms also, what we have access to in Guatemala is rather limited in terms of platforms that can receive credit card payments internationally and deposit directly to Guatemalan bank accounts. And just overall connectivity. During this meeting earlier, the electricity went out, and that's something that tends to happen often here. So living in this world presents challenges, but we're really grateful for the help to bridge that disconnect and to participate in the online world and compete in sales with our handmade craft. So that is all I wanted to share with you. And if you have any questions, feel free to add them in the chat.
Thank you very much, Elisa. I think we'll now turn to Carmen.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I'm gonna start sharing my screen.
We see your screen.
Okay, so, well, hi, my name is Carmen Rengifo. I'm from El Salvador, and my brand is Rengifo. As Elisa already explained, I was also part of the ITC program on the e-commerce. We make handmade products, handcrafted products, We have different lines. We have hand-painted bags, handbags, jewelry, and home products. Little by little, we've been generating a positive impact on Salvadorian society by creating jobs for women who cannot be incorporated into the traditional labor market. Most of them they cannot be incorporated mostly because of their family needs. They have small children, or they are single moms. And we believe in the family as the basis of society. So all of our business model is created around the family. We give our employees, most of them are women, flexible hours, fair wages. We prepare them so they can become part of the productive chain in the company. We give them value reinforcement. We offer them a human environment and a steady income. In how our company has been working, I think that the human environment is one of the things that has more value for our employees. Since they are coming from vulnerable conditions, most of them haven't experienced empathy, for example, charity, tolerance, care. They are used to being mistreated, or they haven't been able to know how to be like more human or kind to others. One of the impacts that we have seen is that they are taking all what they're learning, everything that they're experiencing through our company, they take it home. So they want to give more opportunities to their children and to the people that are around them. They want to be better and to find better opportunities for them and the rest of the people that surround them. Well, this is part of our team, the ones that work in more regular hours. But we have a lot of people that work from home. We started in 2015 in local fairs, and we have been growing slowly but steadily. And in 2020, thanks to the ITC program, we were able to open our e-commerce. This was a key in order to survive the COVID pandemic, since our physical store was closed since March 15, 2020 until December last year. So the being able to sell and to showcase our products on an e-commerce was a key to survive. We were already selling in different marketplaces such as these ones. However, with the program, we were able to showcase all of our catalog to an international market, and we started making sales quickly through Etsy mostly. Then, through the experience we had gained in Etsy, after knowing all of our international clients, receiving feedback from them, and experiencing all the shipping part and handling of the product, we opened our own website, and we are now making international sales through it. What we want to do is, obviously increase our sales. The e-commerce, it's going to be a key part of that, and we want to give more people. Right now, there's a lot of people there's like a bunch of people that have their children at home and they still need an income. So we want to give more work. We want to have more women working with us, and we want to have more families united so they can be stronger and they can overtake the issues they may face. Some of the constraints that we have faced during this transition from a local store from a local store to an e-commerce is the payment solutions here in El Salvador. We didn't have many payment solutions that would give the customer something like a confidence. I think I'm going to do as Elisa, and I'm going to close my presentation. I'm just going to talk about it. The limited access to payment solutions, it was an issue since the product is produced and shipped from El Salvador. Many international customers don't have the confidence to buy something from here, that comes from here, or to pay through a platform, through a local platform. So thanks to the project, we were able to have access to international platforms and make the shopping easier for our customers. Another constraint was the national office, the shipping part. We have high shipping costs. Due to the pandemic, the national post office was closed for months, and even when they started working, the shipping was way too long. So we had access to a private logistic partner. It's still expensive, but it's way faster. We have a tracking number. It's like easier for the customer to have a to know where the product is, where their shop is. And while during this project, I've been tutoring also a Costa Rican woman as part of the ITC tutoring program, and I have seen that these struggles are not only from El Salvador. Most Central Americans are facing the same struggles. So right now, due to the pandemic and how it has like the exponential growth on e-commerce, many local banks have now developed payment platforms to make it easier. However, even though we can receive the payments here in our countries, the commissions that we're having are a lot higher. So it increases our costs, and we have to evaluate how can we do it or what's better. So at the end, it's still a struggle, especially for small businesses like ours. I think this is it. We're going to have a space for questions and answers, I believe, and I'm going to give the floor to the next panelist.
Thank you very much, Carmen. Thanks for your presentation. And yes, let's turn now to our final speaker, Ishani Mukherjee from Etsy. Ishani, the floor is yours.
Your beautiful shop. Okay. Sorry, I think I was on mute. I was just unmuted. So, hi everyone. I'm Ishani. I am a senior specialist with the Etsy team in India, and I work primarily on strengthening our seller community in India. And I'd love to talk a little bit about how the business has been doing during the COVID-19 pandemic and how we've been trying to support our sellers through this entire period. So the impact on e-commerce has varied by region to region, and some regions of Etsy have been more impacted than others. And the major difference has been in the logistics environment because the demand has definitely spiked. So in India, we had an extremely strict lockdown, and for a few months, the logistics networks were 100% shut down. And it is only now that they are very recently that they're coming back to pre-pandemic levels. So that has impacted the number of logistic options available to sellers. However, they actually took this time when the logistics was completely shut down to improve their shops and reopen stronger. So in terms of new sellers, we definitely saw an increased interest from creative businesses who wanted to get on e-commerce. Globally, e-commerce witnessed several tailwinds, including the shift from offline to online, specific competitive dynamics, retail business closures, stimulus checks, and emerging categories such as face masks. The way that Etsy responded to the situation was that we wanted to ensure that we were supporting our sellers through the changes, and the second thing was that we invested in our brand as many new customers were turning to e-commerce. Specifically, what we did was that we started with an advisory to all our sellers to set expectations with their potential buyers through relevant messaging on their shops and possibly taking a short break if required. This varied location by location again, and in India, definitely a lot of our sellers took that break. And as shipping opened up, our sellers came back extremely strong, and they were able to serve the demand boom that they were experiencing from around the world. In response to COVID, the global Etsy community, which is the Etsy staff and our sellers, we came together. The staff put out a call for masks, and Etsy sellers responded immediately. So since April of last year, Etsy sellers have sold hundreds and thousands of face masks every day. Nearly 50,000 of Etsy sellers have sold at least one face mask. And Etsy also stepped up to get face masks to the essential workers who needed them the most. Etsy also invested millions of dollars in global ad campaigns, and the goal was to bring more shoppers to the website. And in addition to the campaign, we also invested in off-site ads to bring more shoppers to our sellers, small businesses. So the way that we've seen it, the way that we've seen our sellers' response as well, we definitely think that e-commerce has been an extremely important platform for small businesses to continue their livelihood when in-person transactions aren't possible. So at Etsy, we've definitely, continuously drawn purpose from the fact that we were able to provide our sellers a source of livelihood during this time. Cross-border e-commerce especially has had the additional benefit that businesses can tap into the demand across the globe. So if local demand is dwindling, as it was in many countries, Indian sellers saw a huge benefit from this, especially to serve customers in the Western world where e-commerce demand was increasing. So the way that we see it, it's also led to an increase in the resilience of the transaction economy, the way that we see it.
Thank you very much, Ishani. Thanks for those insights from your perspective at Etsy. Thanks to all of our panelists for all of their presentations. We have just a few more minutes, perhaps, for some questions, and a couple have been posted in the chat box. So perhaps I'll start with those, and perhaps we can take that in reverse order. I'd be particularly interested to hear from our private sector entrepreneurs, Elisa and Carmen. But the question more broadly is whether the increase of e-commerce during the pandemic is it sustainable, and what can be done to improve the adoption of e-commerce. I guess I would supplement the question by saying that if there was only one area in which there should be a focus, what would have the most impact for businesses who are trying to expand and improve their e-commerce opportunities? So let me turn to Ishani, to Carmen, to Elisa, if you have any thoughts on that question or those questions.
Sure, I can jump in. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so I think speaking specifically to my situation, which is very remote and rural, the key factors for e-commerce to be sustainable is having a skilled and qualified team that can help grow and scale the e-commerce production. But yes, it definitely is sustainable, and it proved itself throughout the COVID pandemic. I think as we continue to grow, we will have the impulse we need in terms of volume to be able to reach our target shipping rates. And from there, hopefully it would be, smooth sailing. Right now, it feels a little bit of like an uphill scale in that regard. And we perhaps aren't making the margins on our sales directly to our individual customers that we would like to be making, as opposed to our wholesale accounts. But we're seeing it grow month by month. And I think that definitely the trend of e-commerce is in a trend, and the world is moving more and more towards that. And we need to be visible on those platforms so that buyers do have an option that is aligns with their purchasing values of wanting to buy perhaps a sustainable product that has a good story, and they can know that the impact is going direct to the area where the product is coming from versus like an Amazon. Those are some of my thoughts.
Thanks very much, Lisa. That's very helpful. Carmen, do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Elisa is saying. I do believe that for small companies like us, maybe as she was saying, we see it uphill. However, we have seen, well, in my case, I started the e-commerce in August, so it's a short period of time. However, we started selling through, for example, through social media since the store closed, that it was on March. And we were able to survive, and in our case, the sales have increased. I mean, considerably. We have seen how people are getting used to shopping online, and they prefer to shop online, to see a catalog online instead of going to a store, especially right now that we still haven't controlled this pandemic. So there's many people that's still afraid of going out or going inside a store. And also it's a huge opportunity to get to international markets. It's going to depend. It says what can be done to continue the adoption of e-commerce. I think that it's going to depend on how easily people can have our products. As I was saying before, in our case, for example, the National Post Office was not an option because they took 10, 11 months to ship a product, and that's way too long. No one is going to wait that much in order to receive something. So even though our shipping rates are high, we have had customers buying our stuff, and they are paying the shipping, even though I know I believe that my customers might think so too, that the shipping is high. So I think it's going to depend a lot on how easy we make for our customers to get our product, and how much variety and how much innovation we're giving to or movement we're giving to that online store.
Thanks very much, Carmen. Very good. Ishani, do you have any more thoughts that you want to share? Or Judith, did you want to weigh in on the questions of the future of e-commerce, particularly in the post-pandemic era?
I have one part that I wanted to mention. Of course, the logistics and payment part extremely important. We also say that being extremely important for sellers to adopt, especially the ones who are moving from offline to online. That's definitely one area that's extremely important. In India specifically, there actually is a lot of support on shipping and payment. Some companies even take care of shipping end to end, literally from picking up the product to last mile delivery. One other area that we found to be extremely important, especially on a marketplace model, is the picture quality, product descriptions, and discoverability of your listings. A lot of small businesses and creative people are able to perfect the creative process of their product, but e-commerce marketplaces are such a competitive platform that if you aren't able to also communicate that to the seller and take away the mystery that comes with e-commerce shopping, because they can't actually see it, they can't feel it, it really increases the friction in conversion. And then, if sellers don't see sales very early on, they tend to drop off. So at Etsy, what we try to do is that we actually in India, we really work with sellers one-on-one, sometimes educating them about the process of taking good pictures, how to write good content, and how to work on things like search engine optimization. Or we even provide them the services in case they are coming from economically weaker backgrounds, and we actually provide them services of photography, of content writing, so that they're actually at par with sellers who might come from backgrounds who already have this awareness. So we, as a platform, we try to bridge that knowledge gap that they might have, so that they can of course, they're already creatively successful, and we try to bridge that business gap for them so that they can actually be discoverable and get sales from their business. So I think that's one thing that is going to be extremely important, especially as more people come online and these marketplaces get even more competitive. To stand out, these are going to become some of the basics to work on, I think.
Just from my side, a couple of words. I don't think that the post-COVID area will change much about the e-commerce growth that we're seeing. I think it's a trend that will continue. So it's important that we keep working on these kind of initiatives, on partnerships, private-public sector partnerships, to help the businesses jump on the train and stay on the train, to not lose these opportunities, and to leverage the knowledge and experience that companies like Rengifo or Itzabut have done through projects like ours. I think it's important to have initiatives that allow peer-to-peer learning, because this is key for e-commerce, that there's an exchange between entrepreneurs, that beginner companies can learn from experts. And this is also what we are trying to do in our project in Central America, that leaders, e-commerce leaders like Itza, Wood, or Rengifo can now pass on the knowledge to less advanced companies. And I think this is a very important work that international organizations like the International Trade Center has to do to contribute to the growth, the inclusive growth of e-commerce.
Paul, I think you are muted in case you want to now take the floor to wrap up the event.
Can I be heard?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
right now.
I'm not muted. I don't believe. At any rate, before we wrap up, I also wanted to give an opportunity to both Suzanne and Jean-Marie to see if they wanted to answer at least in very short fashion the question in the chat box about what remains to be done in the programming that you're involved in your area.
I think from my end, there's still quite a lot of challenges that we face, that I mentioned some at the latter part. I think there's still a lot of challenges on how do we connect the data that we have in our system to other programs that are out there, to government systems as they're looking to develop it, to other industry partners. As I also mentioned, there's still a lot of infrastructure issues that we're facing with network coverage, national ID cards for some of the farmers. So I think that's still a challenge that we need to face. I think as well as we're very much now focused on farmer organizations, strengthening them, but also then giving them the tools to be able to monitor deforestation risks, for instance, and to be able to address that, and how can we tap into different type of funding mechanisms for us to strengthen our supply chain actors as well. So there are multiple different challenges ahead. Like they say in cocoa, there is never a dull moment in cocoa. We also see the governments moving, where they're really moving from voluntary standards to more government regulations. So what does that mean for government systems, and how can we connect, and how do we have that interoperability for that? So I think especially on the macro level, I don't know if Jean-Marie's still in, and if he wants to give more of a West Africa perspective to it. I think he might be off.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. This is Zoe Sophis with the U.S. Mission in Geneva.
it looks like we might be having some technical difficulties with Paul and Emanuela's microphones. But so perhaps unless we have Paul here.
I think am I back now?
Yes, you are. I'll let you wrap up.
Okay, well, I apologize. Yeah, we are having ongoing technical difficulties, but I just wanted to thank everyone for their participation. I wanted to thank all the attendees that have been with us for the last few hours. We've learned a lot and have really benefited from all of the presentations. And I will only close with the thought that I look forward, as I hope everyone else does, to our being able to take our Aid for Trade review to an in-person session again, as has been done in the past in Geneva. So hopefully we'll be able to do this again in the not too distant future, but to do it in person, face to face. So again, thanks very much. Thanks for everyone's patience with our technical issues. And thanks to all of our presenters. And I wish everyone a good day, good evening, whatever it may be for you, wherever you are. So thank you very much.